So Geraldo Rivera went on Twitter the other day, and he said, hey, Biden should pardon Trump. And people did not like that. So let me read you a little bit here. For the good of the nation, Ford pardoned Nixon. For the good of the nation, Biden should pardon Trump. I think they have some responses in here. A guy named Billy Ray says, easily the dumbest thing I have ever seen on Twitter. I don't say that lightly. Geraldo Rivera, there was a moment when you were a reporter, a journalist, when you pursued truth. Where did that moment go? Hashtag hack. Somebody else says, for the good of the nation, this guy should have stayed in Capone's vault. Somebody said, for the good of my editor, I deleted a chapter. For the good of society, you should delete your Twitter account. Jerry Ford fucked up royally. One nearly 50-year-old lapse of judgment should not be gospel. Somebody says, what crime has Trump been convicted of? Well, you just wait, Buzz. You just wait. This guy says, Geraldo Rivera thinks President Biden should pardon Trump. Is he fucking nuts? Geraldo Rivera thinks Biden should pardon Trump. LOL, that's my response. Pardoning Nixon was a mistake. Pardoning Trump would be a catastrophe. Stop standing anti-democracy authoritarians. For the good of the nation, GOP president should stop committing crimes for which they need pardons. Okay, that's a funny one. Ford pardoned Nixon, knowing he would never again be in a position to abuse presidential power again. It was arguably the wrong decision, but that was the context. Trump committed these crimes after leaving office and is running again. Different context. Geraldo is clearly senile. For the good of the nation, we need justice. We need to know that no one is above the law, especially a repeat offender. Trump is a serial criminal. Geraldo also said, Republicans get control of the House, and the first they do is, no, not explore how to tame inflation or crime, etc. They launch an investigation of President and Hunter Biden. Boring, divisive, retro, unwanted, zero positive impact on the lives of Americans. Is this the real red wave? So, look, they throw that last tweet in there to show Geraldo is not a Fox News partisan hack. He's not just a standard right-wing down-the-line guy across the board. He does sort of have opinions that vary and go all over the place. But yeah, every now and then when he swings, he fucking misses, man. He misses big time. So look, here's the thing. Here's the thing that people, I think, need to keep in mind. Precedent. Because some people argue, hey, the precedent of one president of one party going after, a top official in the other party, well, then that opens Pandora's box, and then everybody's going to be prosecuting everybody. And that's not good. It's not good to try to jail your political opponents. That's very authoritarian, third world dictator shit. And so that's an argument you hear kind of often. What you don't hear often is the counter argument that the opposite precedent is even worse. So if you don't go after Trump for committing, by the way, he probably committed over a dozen crimes. If you don't go after him for those crimes, well, then what you're saying is it doesn't matter how egregious your crimes are. If you're president, you will always get away with it, and you should always get away with it. So no president can be held accountable for anything ever. Everything becomes just a matter of opinion and disagreement. Nothing is subject to the rule of law. And honestly, that was Obama's one of his biggest mistakes, is that he didn't go after the Wall Street criminals who caused the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. These are people who had fraud as a business model, as Bernie Sanders likes to say, and he's correct. But he also didn't go after the Bush administration. He didn't go after Cheney. He didn't go after George W. Bush. He didn't go after, the war criminals and the torturers. And, well, then you made it so that it's debatable. And so when Trump got in office after Obama, he signed a pro-torture executive order. This is something that is just against the law. It's against U.S. law. It's against international law. It's against the Constitution. And Trump just signed it casually. And we had already laid the precedent of this is just debatable. There's just a matter of policy choice. It's not a choice. One thing is a crime. The other one is not. And if you're not upholding those laws, then you basically have just a complete free pass for anybody in power to do whatever the fuck they want. And that's where we are right now. And so it would be a worse precedent to let Trump get away with all the things he did. And by the way, the list is endless. He has so many investigations, I literally can't even remember them all off the top of my head. He's got the one in Georgia about election interference where he called and said, find me 11,000 votes. They did the fake elector scheme over there. That's something he's being investigated over. He, of course, has the classified and top secret documents that he stole. Lord only knows what he was doing with those documents. That's being investigated. You, of course, have the January 6th committee and exactly what happened on January 6th. And basically the coup attempt, that's being investigated. You have the business investigations currently going on. It's a civil case currently going on in New York with Letitia James, and Trump committed tax fraud and insurance fraud and bank fraud and, tax evasion and all sorts of stuff like that. That's being investigated. So we've got all these different things. And we haven't even touched on what I think is probably the biggest crimes, which, of course, the war crimes is one thing. Increasing our drone war, killing many more civilians. But also the corruption. The Trump family has taken literally billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia. Billions. Why do you think they're giving you billions of dollars? They want something in return, and they got stuff in return. They got multi-billion-dollar weapons deal. They got the U.S.'s aid and support in their genocide in Yemen. Trump literally vetoed an attempt by the U.S. Senate to stop our support of the genocide in Yemen. The list goes on and on. They protected MBS after the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Trump now has these live golf events at his courses, and he probably gets paid tens of millions for that. Jared Kushner got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia for a business deal. This is all rank corruption. There's an article that just came out the other day talking about Trump is currently making business deals with the government of Oman. Okay, but you're running for president. You can't set up business deals with foreign governments as you're running for president, because obviously you're going to put first and foremost your business needs and your relationship with Oman. What kind of favors are they going to be able to get from you when you're president? This is like the most clear violation of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution I've ever seen in my life, and that's not even under investigation right now, right? So you got all these things. No, pardoning Trump is not the best thing for the country. It would be the worst thing for the country. Now, look, if you go after him, if you indict him, if you convict him, is there going to be unrest? Yeah, of course there is. Are there going to be some right-wingers like rioting or looting or protesting or attacking government buildings? Yeah, I think all that stuff will happen. But you batten down the hatches, you uphold law and order, and have law enforcement do their job, and you move on. And eventually, they'll fucking move on. Because a guy who's the most obvious criminal in the world can and should be outed as that, even if his people get pissed off. Should you not go after some, mafia don because you're scared of the response? I mean, a lot of law enforcement did that. They did lay off organized crime, but they shouldn't have, right? You get more organized, you get your shit together, and you take them down the right way. So what Geraldo said here is just idiotic. I really think it's dumb, especially with all the crimes we know Trump committed. And look, I'm consistent on this. You can investigate any president of any party for actual crimes, and as long as you're right in the details of it, I'll support it. If they end up getting Joe Biden or his family members on some corruption thing and the evidence is convincing, hey, fine, right? And they're going to investigate that, but I think it's going to devolve into just talking about Hunter Biden's balls. But if they do get him on something legit, fine, I'll say that. But everybody should have the same feeling about going after Trump. So, yeah, I think people were right to dunk on Geraldo Rivera. Definitely a swing and a miss. Although I will say that point about what the Republicans are doing, that's a fair point. Because, yeah, you can't, inflation, crime. You can't run on all that and then immediately when you get in office, just drop all that. But they are doing that, which, by the way, is probably why they underperformed in these last elections. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take zero ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.